we come across a lot of people who inspires you a lot and who also always makes you feel very comfortable. And I think I would like to introduce someone in our studio now who has been a big source of inspiration for me. She has a huge hand in my grooming because she has been my mentor, she has been my teacher, and she was the very sweetest person I've came across. Not just that, I've also seen her through thick and thin, and how she has preserved, especially, and her resilience is a source of inspiration for her, for me, and for everybody who knows her. So we are very glad that we have been joined by one of our famous motivational speakers. She happens to be Miss Shazia. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum salam.
Miss Shazia, thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here, and especially when, you know, my wonderful, well-learned co-host has actually mentioned that she's learned quite a lot. So, you know, I came to my office, into the studio, having this in my mind that, okay, you know, today I'm going to take something away, because alhamdulillah, she's a wonderful human being, number one. She's an avid reader, she's very knowledgeable, you know, she's cooperated. So all of those things you want in a dream team to work, you know, alhamdulillah, she's been blessed with all of that. So how much have you contributed in all of that? And then we'll move on towards your journey.
About Hajra.
Yes.
Yeah, she joined PA Finishing School. I worked there as a teacher, as a faculty member, and she was excellent. She was already actually very, very groomed. और बहुत अच्छा हमारा साथ रहा. इनसे भी हम usually हम students से भी बहुत कुछ सीखते हैं.
So we will have to speak in English because we're the only English channel in the country. So if you don't mind, yes, thank you so much.
Problem.
Right. So I think we would like to move forward because Ms. Shazia has a very inspirational journey. Especially the matter of the fact is that in February 2021 she was diagnosed with a breast cancer, and that journey is not easy, especially for the people who are cancer survivor, because their personality undergoes a huge change.
True.
Their identity undergoes a huge change, not just physically but emotionally, psychologically, and it's a very hard time on the family as well, because if one of the person of the family members suffers, the entire family suffers.
True.
And especially when the mother or when the wife suffers in terms of having some disease, I think the entire family suffers, because the mother is, I believe, the pillar of the house on which the entire house rests, right? So Ms. Shazia, since you were diagnosed with the cancer, so how was your journey? What sort of changes did you undergo, and how did you cope up with that entire
Because you were already
time?
working at the finishing school.
Yeah, I was already working with PF Finishing School. One day, it was a very fine morning, and I had a class. In the evening, I felt a lump in my right breast, and I went to a diagnostic center, and I found out that I had cancer. So
how was
the journey started.
When you got to know it for the very first time that unfortunately you had been diagnosed
it was very shocking, not just for myself, for the whole family as well. Then you know, the
what
process.
What was the first thought that came to your mind? Because I'm pretty sure it must be very hard.
Yeah, the first thought was death. Because it was all uncertain. So death was standing in front of me, and I thought, okay, now the time has come and I'm going to the Almighty. And you know, but Allah was there. Allah is always there to help. And you know, the process of investigation then started, and my treatment started.
And this is the first thing which I would want to kind of ask you over here, because for the very first time, when anybody who happens to be a cancer survivor as of now, when you take them back in time and you're like, okay, when you were diagnosed for the first time, what was your first thought? Obviously, the first thought is, because alhamdulillah, I happen to be a cancer survivor myself, and so I'm shukar alhamdulillah, you know, to Allah Almighty, my parents, my family, friends, anybody and everybody who prayed for me. So my first reaction was that I went on to the laptop, you know, wrote what was written in my report and was like, okay, is it curable or not? So imagine that the first answer which popped up was, unfortunately, it's not curable as of yet. And that's the time when you start to figure out, okay, how many days do I have to myself? So when I looked at it, you know, on my laptop or on my Google, which I won't recommend anybody to do that, you know, it's something which happened like 16, 17 years back. So and I started reading, so the maximum number of life expectancy was given to me by Google was 45 days. And that's the time when you start to think about, okay, you know, my journey over here on this planet was till here. So I think what I need to do is probably make sure that I seek for forgiveness from Allah Almighty, and you start to prepare yourself mentally.
Spiritually.
So yeah, exactly. Spiritually and mentally both, because over here in this world, you know, whatever time you're left with, you have to tackle with that pressure.
Yes.
And then, you know, obviously, ki aage kya hona hai? And it's always with human beings, the fear of unknown. So how was it for you? Did you mentally prepare yourself that, okay, you know, Shazia, you really need to be strong now. You have children, you have a husband, you have a loving family, you know, you have colleagues. And so how did you go through that? And the sole reason to ask about this is so that people out there who might be facing these challenges in their life can actually kind of take something away and relax a little bit.
I had actually two options. Number one, just to lock myself up in a room and, you know, not to meet people, and the other option, yes. And other option, because I was already a working lady, so I opted the second option, to go on with my life, just to keep myself busy. It was really hard for me because the treatment was very tough. Chemotherapy was the toughest part. You know, I had 2 surgeries, major surgeries, then 8 cycles of chemotherapy, then 1 month of radiation. Radiation was tough. Chemo was the toughest part. You know, I went through all smoothly, alhamdulillah. I had problems, no doubt. But, you know, I had the support of my family, I had the support of my colleagues, my workplace, and above all, the Almighty. So, you know, I opened Quran Pak because I used to read Quran on and off, but, you know, not with the understanding, you know, proper, we just read it in Arabic. So I opened the Quran Pak and then I go through, I still read it, and, you know, you know, it makes me stronger every day.
Exactly.
So
and
that is
thank you so much for mentioning this, because this is something which people need to, you know, kind of learn from here onwards from you, and that is that to go on with your life. Okay, so whatever is happening in your life, please make sure that you follow that procedure. You know, you continue to be that great human, you continue to be that great personality in your household with your friends and colleagues, and you keep on praying and you get the right treatment. That's number one. So we've established that. Number two, now what happens is that, you know, that when you undergo chemotherapy and radiation, obviously it's more of like, you know, they bring your immunity down, you know, so God forbid if it's flu, you get flu, it's for 30 days, the flu is going to stay with you. You know, so there are multiple other problems, there are body aches, you know, you mentally you're not fit as well. You know, because you feel, because even before chemotherapy, you always think that, okay, I feel fine, you know, that's not going to be a problem. But as soon as chemotherapy starts, you start to feel, you know, your hair start to shed, you know, there are multiple other problems which come up as well. And there's continuous conversations going on with your doctors and everybody and family members, and you feel nausea, you know, so there are those so many challenges physically that mentally you're disturbed. So how did you make sure that mentally you're going to be on track? Let's talk about that.
As I told you, with the holy book, support of my family, I had the best doctors. I was treated in the best hospital, cancer hospital in Lahore, and my family, not just my family was actually taking care of me, I was also taking care of them as well. So we did not actually, because, you know, the whole family was involved, the whole family was depressed. So when I saw my children in depressing mood, so I actually used to suggest, let's go out, have some eating out, let's go to the picnic, and you know,
to change the mood
long drive. So
your mother was always there, you know, the mother inside you.
So it was actually about the you know, a combined effort, and especially my workplace. I would really like to thank the place where I work. I still work there, and they all supported me so well. So this is actually, it's a combined effort, not just one person, but, you know, the inspiration, the motivation, and especially the strength comes from Almighty. And you know, it's not, it's a game of, you know, it's a game of your mind, your faith. So be positive. I tell everybody that be positive all the time in every aspect of life.
But where you were positive, I'm very sorry, I have to bring this in at this point of time, and that is that where, you know, the kind of challenges you had were very different. So imagine that, you know, your father wasn't around, and then, you know, your mother was there. Imagine that your sister actually got diagnosed with the same disease just 4 months prior to you. You know, and then it was you, you know, who was diagnosed with the same disease, you know. So where you were, you know, I think hardly 0.1% of the population might be unfortunately given the challenge that okay, now you have to look after, pray for your sister, your mother's out there on her own, now it's you who's been diagnosed, so your mother might have gotten very shaky as well, that okay, what's happening, and my life's just...
Yeah, my mother, she got very depressed. 4 months earlier, my sister, she was diagnosed cancer, and then I got this disease. So it was like a bomb.
Right, of course. It's a hard time for the parents.
Hard time for my mother. And she was with me throughout the treatment, reading tasbih with me, and the
So
mothers,
what would she say when you would...
and tasbihs and prayers. She was,
But
constantly.
what would she say, when you were with her, that okay, Shazia,
I was
hausla
really,
karna hai?
yeah, with her I'm very comfortable.
Okay.
With mothers, somebody's praying for you all the time, and so you feel very comfortable and elevated.
Right.
So,
what was that one thing, which actually kind of made you hold that rope so strong that you never let it go? Because I still remember that, my sister... So because I didn't open up to my family then, and I was like, okay, if that's how it is, let it be, however it is, and how Allah has destined my life to end. And so then what happened was that, that I never told anybody in my family that, that there were only 45 days expectancy left. So 3-4 days I was able to kind of control it within my own self, but then obviously I had to share it with somebody. So I shared it with my eldest sister. Her name is Shazia. Allah hum sabko khush rakhe, ameen summa ameen. And then what she said was, hey, you know what, you're just worried, it's the first stage of the cancer, you really do not have to worry about it and whatnot. And I kind of, thought that everything she's saying is true. And I held on to it, and I was like, there's nothing wrong with me, it's just the first stage, I'm going to get over it. So mentally I was always preparing myself. So what was that one thing which your mother told you and you were like, okay, I think isse mere dil ko rahat mili hai?
Rahat mili hai, okay. Actually, the way we all are brought up is like death is your friend. Death is something not...
You cannot avoid. Nobody can avoid.
Yeah.
It's just a change of path.
And death is not a bad thing.
Right.
Everybody who is alive has to face death.
Yes.
So this is what life is.
Right.
When I visit hospitals, when I go to the hospitals, I see people, I feel that I'm much better than them. And
Right.
when because I'm like hospitals are my home now,
Right.
second home.
Right.
So whenever I visit hospital and when I come back home, I always do sajda shukr, because I'm much better than many.
Shukr.
Because people, they are blind with cancers, people, they can't walk, they are having chemotherapy. So I think I'm much better than them. And I pray for them as well. So this is life, and we have to teach this to everybody. Do not always count your blessings.
That's true.
We are blessed, life is beautiful, just move on. This is our job to protect a life, to take care of.
I think we need to be precautious about it, but also then we need to live the moment. There's a lot of conversation about it. So there are a lot of feathers to her cap, because she's not just a cancer survivor, she's also established her new homegrown business, which is about the candles. And since I'm very fond
I was expecting a few today
table setting, so I think we would want her to elaborate how was her journey establishing herself in this market, which is a very relatively new market, because in Pakistan you can't get to buy a lot of good candles, as the market is very broad especially. So Ms. Shazia, how long it has been since you established yourself as someone who makes the candles out there, and how is your business going on, home entrepreneurship?
And why did you do it in the first place?
Why candles? Why not soaps?
Basically, since my childhood, I am into arts and crafts.
Okay,
so candle making, actually, this is something I was already doing, resin art, candle making, and many other things I've been teaching to my students. So one fine morning, I started my own business of, event. I'm an event planner as well. So I started my business as event planner, just to keep myself, one aspect is to, keep myself busy, because when I'm at work, I don't feel here pain, my this arm is paining, and here and there paining and depressed.
It's a good escape.
So I keep myself busy. That is what I tell everybody, to keep yourself busy. I started my own business of event planner. So
weddings and everything.
Weddings and everything,
wow.
Yes. And
People
I'm a certified HSC. Certified. Plus, I already was teaching this into arts and crafts.
Right.
So everybody was suggesting, why don't you do your own business? You are into teaching since ages. So one fine morning I said, okay, I'll do it. And you know, I launched my business, this candle making. It is alhamdulillah, getting so good response from my friends and family. And you know, I have launched on social media as well.
Work is just fabulous, you know, because I was going through the pictures last night.
I'm more into decorative candles, you know, different candles. Normal candles are easily available in the market, but these are actually,
are these scented as well?
Custom.
Are these scented candles?
Scented, every kind of candle.
And how can people order these candles?
Through social media.
So please,
Facebook,
why don't you share
Instagram.
Share your handles.
Event Shazia Abbas, SA Events. Events by Shazia Abbas.
Events by Shazia Abbas, ladies and gentlemen. If you want these amazing candles over here in Pakistan to be delivered at your doorstep, please make sure that you kind of follow them on their Instagram page. But very quickly, one last question towards the end, and that is that this conversation today early in the morning has given me a lot of strength, a lot of positivity, a lot of inspiration. And one last thing which I would want you to kind of share with our viewers is that one thing which you remind yourself every single day that you need to be thankful of. What is that? Please say to our viewers. Look into the camera. Tell them.
To the viewers?
Yes.
Okay. I want to tell everybody, and I want to you know, convey this message that life is beautiful. Always be positive. Whatever problems come in your way, just remember God is there. Allah Pak Almighty is there to help you. Please stay strong and have faith in God.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. And in addition to that, I'm going to top it up, and that's one thing which I remind myself every day. Whatever you manifest will come your way. So if you're going to manifest positivity, positivity will